All right, everyone, welcome to this episode of Check Your Six. We've got the end of season 11 Pro League to talk about, some news to talk about within the Pro League scene, and we've got more collegiate to talk about as we're rolling into the playoffs and starting to see what that scene is like within CEA, and we'll be getting into what CRSL picture looks like, as a number of teams are definitely out of the race there, and seeing what CR6 has to offer in terms of the seeding of the top 70 teams in the Premier League playoffs coming up next week, which will be great. But we can talk about some of those matches later. Let's talk Pro League with Syntax. That way.
So, as we all know, Pro League this season has finally come to an end. Surprisingly enough, I guess it may not be a surprise to some of you, but so TSM was at the top, only to get snagged away by Space Station. So TSM and Space Station played on Monday, and Space Station won. They played on Cafe, and Space Station won it. Now, a lot of people, or not Cafe, it was Theme Park, sorry. They play on Theme Park. And one of the major things that I saw was that, like, a lot of people hate Theme Park, the new one. They hate playing it in comp and ranked and stuff like that. But it's funny. Space Station's coach Lycan, he was talking about Theme Park, and he's like, I actually love this map. He goes, my players absolutely hate it, but I love it. And he's like, there's so much stuff you could do on this map. He's like, it's crazy.
It's a theme park.
He goes, yeah,
have fun with it. It's a theme park.
You know? He's like, yeah, it's crazy how much stuff you can do on this map. And he says, I just had my guys run it over and over and over again. So we get used to it and just try out new different things. And he goes, it paid off. We had to play theme park and our work paid off. So they snagged the number 1 spot in Pro League, followed by TSM in number 2 and DZ at number 3. It's kind of a disappointment, I think, for both DZ and TSM. I know they were kind of comfortable at the number 1 and 2 spots, only to get knocked down a peg by Space Station, to kind of come out from third place to snag the first place, which is good on them.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's exactly what you said. TSM and DZ were comfortable at 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we had the 6 Invitational that SSG went out and won, there was just no looking back. Like, I think right after that, once we got back to the Pro League matches, SSG lost to TSM like right after, like in the first week back. But outside of that, Space Station just kept rolling. They had a tie. It was classic. But like, they still kept themselves competitive. They were there in the chase the entire time. I would need to go back and look at how many maps or how many games TSM lost since the Invitational. But like, they lost to who was it last week or the week? Yeah, last week.
Who, TSM?
TSM lost to E United last week.
Mm-hmm.
That was the decider. They had like a 6 or 7 point lead, and they blew it. Like that's the decider. That EU versus TSM match last week. That was the decider.
Mm-hmm.
And it put them in a really bad spot to have to hold on to beating SSG, the ones who just won the 6 Invitational, the ones who are coming after you. And those are the ones that they left themselves wide open to be their last game of the season against. No.
If they would have won their match against EU, that would have guaranteed their first place spot till the end of the season. Even if they turned out the same way, they lost to Space Station, they would still be number 1. So that sucks, but it happens.
What I think when you're talking about the map, I wanted to see whose pick that actually was, basically, and it was Space Station's. they had the final ban, and they could have gone to cafe or theme park,
And they picked theme park.
and they picked theme park, which is interesting to me because TSM saved the coastline ban for their last ban. So the final 3 maps: coastline, cafe, theme park. I don't think anyone wants to play SSG on coastline.
No.
And cafe is cafe. You either like it or you don't, or you don't like what the other team has to offer on that map. But I mean, you're still talking the most competitive North American teams. So do you really want to go to something that's super one-sided and then hope that you can pull off more than like one round more than your opponents? Like that's a risky business right there, because it was bound to come down to a one round difference if they went to cafe.
Yeah.
So theme park goes in as a wild card map, and hearing that the players actually don't like playing on it, but like and did, I mean, that's due diligence. That's the coach doing right by the team and saying, no, you're going to play on this whether you like it or not. I don't care. You have to be prepared to play on it, because guess what? It's going to be there in season 12. Get it out of the way now.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. You know, that's how you get ahead, is to stay ahead of the game. You know. But with all that being said, so next season, I don't know if we've talked about it already, but next season is going to be completely land. It's going to be strictly a land season. So I think, well, I mean, they're ditching ESL, right? So ESL is cutting ties with Ubisoft, and which is why they are going full LAN. So that means all the orgs are trying to move their players to Las Vegas. It's going to be in Las Vegas, so they can have the LAN tournaments and stuff like that, all local. So with that being said, you know, that costs orgs money to move all their players out, you know, flying the players, buying a house, selling the house, all that kind of stuff. And that kind of brings into question, like, is our team making enough money to justify the cost of moving our players out there for the remainder of Rainbow Six Pro League? And 2 teams actually are saying no to that, which is LG and EG. EG isn't doing very well, as you probably know. They finished last place this season. Yep. So, and it was a pretty hard last place too, with 2 wins, 9 losses, and a negative 30 round differential. Pretty bad. So EG they are dropping their Pro League team. So that whole roster is up for grabs at the moment. So let it be known that orgs do not hold spots in Pro League. It's the players that hold the spots. So EG is dropping their team. This is all officially confirmed and everything. Now LG, it hasn't been officially announcement, you know, from LG yet, but yep. It's definitely coming. It's happening, because there have been so many statements from some of the players talking about how poorly these things have been handled with planning. The owners of LG have just been just terrible communication from them. Haven't talked to them about anything. Poor communication from Ubisoft as well. So it was just a shitstorm all around on both sides. And it's not just LG that has been having a problem. It's all of Pro League. Ubisoft has been has kept the community pretty much in the dark about everything. They are really bad at communicating anything to the public. And even the Pro League players, which is kind of odd. And to be honest, this is a huge black eye on Ubisoft right now. They honestly, in my eyes, they either need to do something major to tell the public that, like, we are serious about this, or they are slowly twisting their own knife.
Yeah, I would agree.
and I don't know what's going to happen because they don't communicate anything. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And so LG and EG are out. Now, are the players going to pick up and move themselves to Vegas to keep their Pro League spots? Probably not. So, with that being said, if two orgs want an easy way to get into Pro League, they can buy out either the EG roster or the LG roster. But seeing as seeing their performance in Pro League, I don't think any org is going to want to pick them up. If I'm going to be totally honest,
yeah,
that's not a cost-efficient team to buy.
I was just thinking that, like, if you have two rosters, bottom of the barrel, like, and consistently, not just this season, not just recently, like this whole time they've been sitting like 6, 7, 8 the entire time. Why would you buy that team and then pay the extra cost of moving them out there, getting them settled, and knowing that they're not going to be able to compete with who's there anyways? And I know it's not happening next season because of this dropout or these dropouts, but if there were two more teams in the league, do you really think that you would fare any better against a super hungry Challenger League team or some pros who are free agents right now who want to come together and go through the Challenger League grind and then join in later? Like, these rosters just can't cut it. They are not good enough. And maybe they need a mix of different players, but however it needs to happen, you're not going to take the squads as they are to Vegas. And I mean, for this all seemingly came out of nowhere. Like, it was this huge hype announcement, like season 12, we're doing something big. Like, it's great PR and everything, but are they doing any, like, and again, they're not communicating, or at least the players aren't communicating any of this side. Is Ubisoft, whoever, are they helping move these teams there? Is there any front-loaded work that Ubisoft is taking on to help these teams? It doesn't sound like it. And why would they? Like, they're not, like, they may not be springing this on the teams. They may be springing it on the teams that, hey, guess what? You got to move to Vegas. Either way, it doesn't have nearly the amount of refinement in that announcement and that execution with details and a whole bunch of front-loaded stories about why they're doing this, like Overwatch League had, like the Call of Duty League had and has done. Like, yeah, there was a stale time where we didn't know, like, CDL had canceled all of their LAN events, and they said, we'll get back to you soon about what we're doing. They came back. First event happened last weekend. Great. Communication, rolling. They were talking to all the teams at the same time as well. They had to have been, because eight of the 12, 10 teams play in every event. So they had to be communicating there. So to see that this Vegas announcement and players have to move themselves, yeah, I could imagine groups like EG, who's going through like a huge reformation. They've already dropped a different team in another game, and they're trying to focus on their core games where they're good. And I could see LG doing the same thing. They just paid a whole bunch of money to be in the Call of Duty League, and they have the Vancouver team and the Overwatch League team. So there's $45-50 million that they've raised, got other angel investors in to help raise the money for those teams. They don't have another dime to spare, even if it's a couple $100,000 instead of a couple million or $10 million to move a team down to Vegas. They're tapped out. And Rainbow Six may not just be as big as it needs to be for them to think that it's worthwhile. Hard to say, but I mean, asking for another big expenditure for the third year in a row from a founding team like LG, that's an easy exit. And EG, they're just not competitive, and they've gone through their own reorgs recently, and so they need to be tight. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why 100 Thieves got out of Call of Duty. Too rich for my blood. I'm out. Now, Reciprocity, there's rumors that they've been picked up, but it's not 100 Thieves, and it's not a a tier 1 esports org that people are familiar with, and seemingly it sounds like the group is going to be fairly unknown to the Rainbow Six community. So I'm really curious who picked him up. This is all from the R6 Leakers um, Twitter account. So I saw that. I thought that was interesting, and I'm sad to see that 100 Thieves still isn't in on this because I like their stuff. I like what they're doing. I hope they do get involved. I think it'd be an easy team to cheer for, and they'd bring all their bandwagon fans with them. So works for me.
And honestly, like it doesn't even, as long as the org is good to the team, like it doesn't matter if they're a tier 1 or not,
Right.
and I think the players don't mind, as long as they have an org to help them out,
Mhm.
Now I think everybody wants to see 100 Thieves come to Rainbow Six, but the truth of the matter is, Matthew Haig, or Nadeshot, the owner of 100 Thieves, is a lot smarter than people give him credit for, and I think he was kind of watching uh, Rainbow Six to see how it played out, is going to play out,
Mhm.
and I think he's seeing all this stuff happen right now, and he's like, I
Nah.
don't know.
Yeah.
This is kind of turning into another Call of Duty league, so maybe not.
Yeah.
And his org is doing just fine right now. I
Right.
think 100 Thieves is worth, last time I checked, it had a net worth of like 125 million. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
it's co-owned by Drake and co-owned by the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he's got some serious money behind him.
oh yeah.
So
And I mean, right now, like, you may not even really need an esports team to keep themselves afloat. Like with all the content creation that they have going on, focus on that, build up your platform. I mean, they sold out every room in their house basically to different sponsors. So they're making money one way or another, and they just have to keep doing what they're doing, which is making good content. They don't even have to be
yeah,
competitive at this point.
I was watching some of the videos about like their facility, and like their player house is like a $10 million house. It is ridiculous. It is. It's,
Could you imagine being one of those players and living out like your 18, 19 to like your mid 20s, maybe even late 20s in that house, and then moving out to do your own thing and realize that you can't live like that anymore?
I know.
That would be devastating.
Well, the funny thing is he was vlogging one time, and he's like, I heard there are some problems at the mansion because a lot of the players moved out. He goes, I need to go check on it. And so he goes over there, and it is absolutely trashed.
Oh.
Like the mansion was trash. Like they had moved out, and like there was just trash all over the floor. There were like chicken nuggets on the counter, Subway sandwiches, like just filthy. And he was like, what the fuck? Like he was so mad. And I was like, damn. Like imagine having the having the opportunity to live in this fancy ass house and then just trash it,
Oh.
like I guess that's the downside of having a bunch of 18-year-olds live in your house.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, um yeah, so there are there's some speculation right now because Ubisoft doesn't communicate. It's all speculation. That they might just be keeping the 8-team pro league setting instead of the 10 because of the dropouts.
Yep.
There's also speculation that Disrupt and Sonics are going to be coming in to pro league, but nobody knows because there's no communication. Now, honestly, I can see Disrupt and Sonics coming back in the pro league. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case because I think they were kind of set on having the 10-team pro league rules. And they're also gonna have a 9-month season. And also because Ubisoft doesn't communicate, the CL guys, the Challenger League guys for North America, have no idea what's gonna happen to them. they don't know what they're playing for anymore.
Yeah.
There has been no communication, like how it's going to be structured, how relegations are going to work, or any of that.
Mm.
Like, how are relegations going to work for a LAN where you need an organization to do so? Like, how is that going to work?
Yeah.
The Challenger League guys just don't know what they're playing for, and there needs to be some sort of communication stating like okay, this is how it's going to work, guys. Like,
Yeah.
Relax, all this kind of stuff, but nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I would have expected some priority to have been put on the Challenger League team as well. The Challenger League organization, like, that's your feeder group. That's what guarantees you at least 2-3 more years of competitive play. Because, I mean, you see what that pool is like. You see how aggressive that talent is, and you see how deep it goes. That's your feeder pool. That's how you know you have a game going long. Not the pro league, not by the people who are in there. You look at the hungry people who are willing to play for scraps, basically, to get to that big league payoff, that big league notoriety. That's what those players are playing for. The ones who are in pro league now, I imagine most of them are just playing because it's a game they like, and they're getting paid to do it, and they have a pretty sweet setup. And I mean, it's fun to go play at LANs. It's fun to go travel. There's a lot to look forward to do while you're in pro league, but the businesses behind them are businesses. And if your team's not winning, if your team isn't turning much of a profit, like, you could be winning all of the LANs in the world, but if it's not an Overwatch League or a Call of Duty League where there's massive payouts for each one and regularly, not just this once every few months type thing, but regularly you're getting paid out for wins, like, I don't know how many of these orgs would sustain like a really small profit margin when there's a lot of complexity to operating an esports team, especially in a league that's not communicating. How much more effort do you want to have to deal with? I mean, this is why SLAs, service license agreements, exist, so that customers and service providers can protect themselves. If Ubisoft is not communicating, these teams probably have it in a contract clause to be like, this is why we're leaving, and you can't apply any penalties to us. And here's our evidence. We'll get our lawyers involved, and we'll back out. You can't hold us to this. And I could imagine that there was some of that with EG, just kind of going out, and LG as well. I mean, LG is like that perfect example. Players not being able to talk to the owners, owners not talking to the players, owners not talking to the game devs and the eSport League publishers. And I mean, this is Ubisoft. To my knowledge, this is the first time Ubisoft is taking on the eSports League and the eSports League. I don't even know if they have any other games that have eSports. And so taking it over from ESL with no experience, where's that big red flag?
Yeah.
Like, I imagine that they hired another group in Vegas to run it, because there's tons of those. There's some of them who have been running stuff like the esports arena in Vegas. Like, they've been doing stuff. It's where Ninja did his Fortnite stream. That was huge. That Courage got to cast and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's opportunity in Vegas for another production company to take it over outside of the ESL. But if Ubisoft is having a bigger hand in the production and the quality behind it, this is their first time running it. And so that's a lot of risk for another business to be like, yeah, we're willing to fork over money to move there, fork over money to keep it going, to try and let you prove that you're capable of doing this. That's a lot of risk and a lot of money.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm honestly surprised that they made the move to straight LANs and they're moving everyone to Vegas. Like, this is like, especially without the promise of having home and away games like the Overwatch League. Like, the Overwatch League Season 1 and most of season 2 took place. Well, no, season 2 had a few homestands. This season has more homestands where they're traveling more, but Overwatch League next season is expected for teams to be playing in their hometowns a number of games in their own arenas, not just rent out this place. But then for Rainbow Six to kind of move into that same direction without saying what the future is of you're going to have home games or you're going to be expected to play regional across the country kind of thing for each week, for any of those plans not to be laid out, it seems poorly thought out, poorly executed. I mean, you had models laid out in front of you. Granted, Overwatch League largely disappointing in numbers, and then Call of Duty League still trying to prove itself, trying to find its footing amidst the COVID situation, which is really terrible timing while they're trying to stand up a league, but it happens, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's without any forethought into what the future is going to be beyond. We know what year 1 or year 5 and year 6 are going to be content wise, and what Ubisoft's plans are for content updates, but we don't know what their esports update is outside of, by the way, go to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll meet you there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's got to be a lot of trepidation on that front for anyone who's sticking it out, and the Challenger League. Like, when you have 3/4 of your teams going, what the fuck? How are you supposed to have a sustainable esports league?
And I don't even know. Is Pro League going to be run solely by Ubisoft now? If ESL cut ties, then who's taking their place?
It's either some production company that's based in Vegas, or Ubisoft is. Well, I mean, at this point, Ubisoft is either buying a company to do it, or they're paying another company to do it that's local to Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much I would trust either one.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like ESL is like the Pro League people,
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go.
Yeah. Well, that'll be exciting. I'm sure we'll have some more announcements coming up while we have some collegiate to talk about. I don't know if there's going to be much more Pro League to talk about, unless there is some news announcement that's going to be more about rosters being picked up, rosters being dropped, who's moving to Vegas, who's roster swaps. If there's one player saying I'm out and another free agent coming in, one of the EG players possibly. Yeah,
there'll definitely be some roster moves, I feel like.
I mean, those bottom 4 teams, well, if Disrupt and Sonics come in, that's going to be limiting. SSG is going to be happy. I mean, back in December, they chose not to change anybody, and that paid off real well for them. TSM, they got a lot going for them as well. Unless someone's burned out or just not pulling their weight with the team, I don't see TSM needing to make any changes. I could see DZ making changes. They kind of gassed out after the first half, and then they fell pretty hard after December. They just
honestly, I don't see them making any changes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they might have had like a bad break in the second half of the season, but I don't think it warrants any roster changes on their end. I think it was just a bad day,
Okay. Yeah. But as you get below DZ, I think that's where you start seeing more disruption to the rosters.
Yeah.
But
there'll probably be changes on like Tempo. EU, maybe not.
They just made some changes.
Yeah.
So I could see them trying to see how that syncs up over I guess in the meantime, but like, are these teams scrimming? Are they all taking a 2-month hiatus until there's something announced? Like, I mean, they're all still at home, so. What a shitty situation.
Yeah.
Well, we could stew on that, or we can talk about the good side of things and talk about college. Well then, was there anything else you want to talk about? I don't want to just jump in there and be like, "Screw you, Pro League, we're done."
Honestly, no. That's it. That's
Okay.
it for Pro League.
Let's see. I want to kick things off a little bit differently. Let's see if I can do this. Well, first we're going to talk CEA Invite Division. So they have figured out of the 16 teams that they had in their Invite League. They took the top 2 from each division, and the overall ranked number 1 and 2 teams, RIT and Akron Gold, they get first round buys. So boop, they're already into it. So now we have 2 wildcard matches happening. One's already happened. This was Carnegie Mellon versus University of Florida. This happened on Monday, so pardon the spoilers, but you've almost had a week. Tough shit. Carnegie Mellon ended up winning, and they will play Akron Gold, so I'm not sure how much of a victory that is. They'll get to... wait, no, maybe I read that wrong. I don't think I did. Carnegie Mellon should be playing Akron, and Pennsylvania State, the winner of Pennsylvania State versus Arizona State, will play RIT, which is pretty beefy. Like Pennsylvania and ASU, they've kind of been... Pennsylvania is only really playing in this league. ASU, they're in CRSL, they're in CR6, and they kind of have wonky performances. Like, they're not doing so hot in CRSL. They made it to the playoffs, so they're top 6, top 8 in CEA, and I don't believe they're placing... I think they're kind of middle of the pack in CR6. So that's kind of a weird one. RIT, who the winner will play, that's a challenge. Like, RIT has stepped up in the CEA league, and I don't know. I can't tell if that's just because whoever won the trials just won on a good day, and then but normally that they're just kind of mediocre teams. It was hard to really grasp how good the competition was amongst those divisions, but it plays out to see some different names playing at this level and against some of the teams that we do recognize from the other leagues. So overall, I still think it's Akron's to win. I think you'll see an Akron RIT finals in the end, and I think Akron still takes it. RIT was in first place all the way up until the end, and then I guess Akron somehow clinched the first place spot. It's still weird to me that they had to play 2 less games because of a team that forfeit all of their matches from the very beginning of the season. That Akron got their numbers balanced against the games that they played, which was less than the games that other teams played. And so while it breaks down close, I still think it's a slight unfair advantage given to them to play less games and be rated higher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing against them, against Akron. They didn't do anything wrong. They showed up, they played their matches. Another team dropped out and kind of screwed everything up. So unfortunate, and it's kind of this weird competitive integrity question, but this is the way it's being run. Akron was going to be there anyways. It just kind of works out. So
yeah.
So we've got those plans. So Pennsylvania State versus Arizona State plays tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and it's supposed to be streamed on CEA's Siege's Twitch channel. So I'll have that link in the show notes. Moving down to CR6. Well, actually, I'm gonna try and run this real quick because they have their playoff brackets added for the invite division, or the open division, sorry. Where is Chrome? This one. Why aren't you showing up? Let's grab this. There we go. Perfecto. We got it. And it's up on stream even. Look at me. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. And it's not legible at all. That is unfortunate. But what I can do, let's see. Yeah, it's not going to work. Damn. Well, here you have it. You can't see my cursor. That's unfortunate. So we're just going to go back to the webcams. I thought I knew what I was doing. I don't. That's too bad. But I will read off the teams so far. So York University A squad, they've survived playing against University of Texas Arlington Scarlet squad. They're placing UDEM. I don't even know who that is. UDEM. Never heard of them, but they are. It's York University seed 1 versus seed 17. Texas Tech University defeated ATU. I knew this one. Can't remember it. Michigan University D1. So 8 and 9 will be fighting each other in the quarterfinals, or in bracket 1, bracket 2. UAH, University of Alabama Huntsville. Charger Blue is 1 against Pennsylvania University. They, surprisingly, their new opponent is a team that beat Boston University, who is one of the top tier teams in CRSL. So that's interesting to see. MTU Gold. I'm afraid I don't know all the acronyms in the world, and there's so many MUs, MTUs, TTUs, TUs, ATUs, ATVs, too many of them. So there's some names that I'm just not going to be able to call out. FIU, Florida International University, they beat out New Jersey Institute of Technology. It's kind of what I would expect at this point between the two squads, given their history. What other teams are recognizable? We'll do that. Grand Canyon University, they've stomped their second seed in this, and they stomped their 34 seed PSA. They're up against San Francisco University, or maybe Santa Fe University. Hard to say. CSULB, they beat Penn Tech. They're up against University of Central Florida, and so that was a little bit of an upset. UCF seed 20 took out seed 13, University of North Carolina Charlotte Green squad. So not their A squad, but still UCF taking out a UNCC squad is a bit of a note. Colorado University Boulder Black took out UCR. I'm not entirely sure who they are, but it'll be 5th seed up against 12th seed there. So we've got some good matches, some teams that we recognize from CR6 and CRSL competing even in the Open League. I imagine a couple of these teams will be graduating into the Invite League, and maybe even a 3rd or 4th, given that one of the teams in the Invite League forfeit their entire time. So you will not be seeing them next season. That's a guarantee. Honestly, out of all of this, I have to say I'm rooting for Grand Canyon University. They were one of my first podcasts that I did talking to their esports clubs, so it's good to see their teams ramping up in different games and more so. So I'm excited for all of them. What is it? Lopes out, lopes up, something like that.
Lopes up.
Lopes up.
Is that like what they say?
Yeah. What is it? GCU. Yeah, look this up. Yeah, lopes up, because they're a mascot is like an antelope.
Oh God.
Lopes up.
I don't think you would ever hear me saying that if I went to the college.
Well, everyone's got school pride to a degree, right?
To a degree.
I mean, they even have Lopes Rising as a hashtag.
There's also a difference between school pride and embarrassment. So
this is true. Okay, where are my notes? There are my notes. So that's it for CEA. We will have our full playoff picture next week as we roll into it. We might even have one of those matches settled by the time we talk. So that'll be good to know how much longer we have in CEA, and I'm really looking forward to watching these key matches come up. CR6 Premier League, we are down to 9 3-0 teams, and one of those is now 4-0. Boston University took out Mississippi State University. Both were 3-0 teams going in at it this week. So MSU, another team near and dear to me, takes a fall. They're still ranked high because they've played their fourth match of the week or of the season for this phase. I imagine they're going to be dropping down to at least let's see, if we had 9 3-0 teams, so they'll be dropping to at least 5th, 6th, maybe even 7th, depending on how points are totaled and like round differentials and all the tiebreakers break down.
Which team is this?
Mississippi State University.
Okay.
Yep. I'm surprised to see Boston University up there, 4-0 there, and I mean, like I was just pulling up with the CEA Open. They lost. Boston ended up losing to MTU Gold. I couldn't even tell you who MTU is, and to see a team that's 4-0 having played winners upon winners upon winners in CR6 in both Phase 2 and relatively difficult opponents in Phase 1, I'm surprised to see them having fallen in Open League CEA, but see them holding so strong here in CR6.
MTU being a Michigan Technological University.
There you go. And one thing I found out while I was browsing the CR6 Discord is that matchups are random.
What?
All they get, all that Battlefy gives them, is the ability to set the seeds at the very beginning of each phase, which is why they have that phased approach to get to the most competitive matchmaking, because they set the seeds and then they let it go, and then the matchups are randomized by Battlefy.
What in the world?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I'm still kind of processing that, and I mean, and here's one deal that happened, and this is how I found out about it. There were 9 3-0 teams, so that means one of those 3-0 teams in their last week of of Phase 2, which is deciding seeding for the playoffs, one of the 3-0 teams got to play a 2-1 team. The 2-1 team that got selected at random to play was a team that lost last week. So they were already in outside of that bracket, but because they had played so well, they were ranked high. And like they're now like ranked 30th in the Premier League, which is almost halfway through the 70 teams there. And they got matched up against Akron.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's a lull. That sucks. And it was just talked about how matchups are randomized. It was bad luck that this team that lost last week, but is still highly competitive, gets match made against a 3-0 team, the reigning champions, and they get the short end of the stick. That's really unfortunate. Which makes me think that I really hope that there's more consideration into curating schedules next year. One thing that I've really, really liked about CRSL is that, and even CEA, is that you have your divisions. You know that you're going to play X number of games out of division, and you know who you're going to play within all those other weeks. And even CR6 did this not last season, but last year, you had your, like, what was it, 6 or 8 team divisions, and then you had your 4 conferences, basically. You knew who you were going to be playing. You knew what was at stake each time. But with CR6, with this phase 1 random matchmaking, it sets up everyone to go into phase 2 with the basic seeding, but you've then already culled people into open and premier. So there's no real opportunity to climb out of that until next year, or then until the next season. So the fall in this case. So, but it's not like because you were in open the previous season and won it that you get to qualify for the Premier League. You still have to go in through phase 1 and prove that you're top tier. Now, I kind of like that. Prove you're consistent, prove that you're a dominant team, but at the same time, that's not the esports culture that we're coming into. If you want to be treated right and treated accordingly, and like how standards have been set, you are given a place at the table when you've earned it. That's not happening here, and that's a little concerning. Like, you'll see that 1 and 2 from the fall league, they didn't have to play in phase 1. They got buys into phase 2. So A&M Maroon and who'd y'all lose to in the finals last season?
Simon Fraser? No, yeah, it was Simon Fraser. Wait, when I played?
No, not when you played, last fall, in the fall. Because it was, you guys were you fell to number 1 and you guys were number 2. I forget, but like, you guys got buys from phase 1 to get into phase 2, and I think you were seated at the top. That's what it was. You were seated at the top, so you could still fall all the way down in phase 2 and then lose out in well, actually no, because going into phase 2 you were already broken out into Premier and the Open division. So really the only teams who get to hold their spot are the 2 who won previously. So really everyone else has to come in hungry as fuck to make it into Premier League again. So, and when you have random matchmaking like this, it puts a tinge on that. It puts a haze on it. It's like, it's not fully representing how good these teams are. Like, now that there's been this many number of leagues and seasons within CR6, I would expect some amount of seeding to happen prior to the league starts. If you're a new team, then you're a new team because you have no data on you, so you're going to be ranked low. You have to climb the ranks. And this is where curating your matchups actually makes sense, much like boxing and MMA. Curate the matchups so that you can see this Cinderella story. Curate your list so that you can see the team that's up on top and see them fall under pressure and then see them come back again. Like, see them walk through their stumbles. Put your 1 and 2 teams, give them the bye through phase 1. Great, awesome. But let your 16 through 30 teams also just be like, yeah, we'll play a relegation match to make sure that no one can take our spot. Cool. There's a narrative. There's a cool mid-season tournament. I could totally get behind that. So there's some more nuance to the competitive configurations for all of these leagues to figure out. I think CR6 has the most to figure out. Back to the actual matchups. For this week, CU Boulder Black versus Grand Canyon University. That's going to be a great one, hands down. And they might actually end up facing each other if they can both pull through in the Open League of CEA, which would be kind of a cool thing where you get their matchup this time, and then you might see them again play in the CR6 playoffs. And then you might see them play in the Open League Championships of CEA. So there could be a bit of a rivalry going on between those two coming up. Akron gets to play Clemson. Akron being like number 2 ranked overall. Clemson is 19. and the only 2-1 team to play a 3-0 team due to a random matchmaking at the odd number of 3-0 teams. So yeah, Clemson was the team who got randomly matchmade up against Akron. So that's unfortunate, but good luck, Clemson. Texas A&M ranked 35th, 2-1 over Southern Illinois University, improving to 3-1. I'm kind of curious how you're feeling about the Maroon squad, because having dropped down to 35th overall, just with round differential score taken into account, knowing that they kind of fall into the last chunk of teams. How do you think their chances are going into the playoffs are?
Honestly, I have faith that they'll make it into playoffs. They're good enough to make it.
They're in. Like they will be within. They'll be in the premier playoffs. They'll be probably if they win their next match, or actually 2-1 improves to 3-1. So they are where they're going to be. I don't think that the rank hasn't been updated based off of the result of their last matchup, but going to 3-1 definitely puts them in a good spot, as opposed to all the teams that are being downgraded to 2-2. But they're going to be kind of like 16th through 27th kind of thing. That's kind of the range that I see them falling in based off of the round differential scores. That puts them in the middle of the pack. They're going to be playing teams that are maybe a little less or that are rated lower than them. But as soon as they win one, maybe two rounds, they're going to be playing teams that are upwards of 10, 7, 2, all of that, depending on how the bracket breaks down. But how do you think that they hold up?
To be 100% honest, I have no idea. I see them, I don't, I haven't really talked to them about their whole, like, how the leagues are going in a while. But, I see them, get into I see them when they're in Discord, when they group up to like play games and stuff. But I think they group up to play matches. And, like, that's about it. I don't know if they've been scrimming as much as they should have been. And I think their motivation has kind of fallen for whatever reason that might be. Now, I could totally be wrong, but it just seems like that. Back when I played, our motivation was like through the roof.
Yeah.
And we were scrimming like almost like every other freaking day. But these days, I don't know. I don't know what their mindset is. So I think they're going through the motions right now. I think that's the best way that I could put a word on it. I think they're going through the motions.
I got you. That's fair. I mean, it's also weird. I mean, they never played together in the same room anyways, but now they're all at home. That could be weird. They may not have like the same setups, all that kind of stuff. But that's a little disappointing. I like seeing teams kind of hold together for a bit longer, but I mean, we're talking, this is a 2-year history already. Hoping that they can keep the squad strong and everything, but R6 is maybe not as widely appealing as games like League, so it might be hard to keep the talent fresh and hungry at all times, but I get it.
Or maybe they're just getting outplayed. I have no idea. Yeah. I mean, take everything that I'm saying right now with a grain of salt, because I haven't actually like talked to them about like how their preparations and matches and stuff are going. So this is just all speculation from me.
Fair enough. That's fine. No big deal. So moving on, let's see. We got the CRSL Week 6 matchups in the bag. So, and actually, let me double check on this. Tournament info. Let's see. Yeah, they got some teams already have their Week 7 matches already done. We should be in Week 8. And finishing that up this week. Most of these teams don't have 7 games recorded on their website. And so there's still a number of makeup games being done. So I hope that we're still done relatively soon with this league, or with this phase, so that we can move on to playoffs, as it's a little hard to tell the difference about who's going to make it and who's not going to make it at this point. So I'm going to go through the scores and talk about the ranks that these teams are at, as far as I got, at least, before realizing that it's still very much up in the air. So let's see. Wisconsin Red, they were 3-2. They attacked first on Clubhouse versus Auburn, who is also 3-2. Wisconsin won 7-3. They have a chance at playoffs, but they need to pray that Auburn and the Bulin Bearcats keep stumbling, because being 3-2, they're in the race with 2, maybe 3 other teams in their division to at least clinch that 4th place spot.
Bulin Bearcats.
Bulin Bearcats. I like that. I like that name. Not just Auburn or Texas A&M-U. ASU Maroon Squad, 2-3, attacked first on Clubhouse against University of California Irvine White, who's sitting at 1-4, so UCI is out of the playoffs, hands down. ASU won 7-3, and again, this is another team that has a chance to make it to playoffs, but they have matches against UTSA, B Squad, and Texas Tech, and those teams are also out of the playoffs. I don't think that either one of them have a prayer of getting into the playoffs, so ASU at least knows that they're playing teams that are weaker, but they just can't underestimate them, and they have to do their due diligence to make sure that they do the work to clinch that playoff berth. Louisiana Red attacked first on Bank against Texas A&M Maroon. Louisiana Red 4-3. Texas A&M 4-2. On Bank, Texas A&M pulled that one out 8-6. Texas A&M also had a doubleheader this week, and they played Longhorn Gaming also on Bank. Longhorn Gaming attacked first. They were 3-3, or they are 3-3 now because they lost 7-5. Colorado Frost attacked first on Clubhouse against Northern Arizona University Gold and won. So NAU suffered their second loss of the season to Colorado Frost, who equalizes at 3-3 now. That's a pretty big deal. I mean,
yeah,
that means Colorado Frost is now 1 win away, and NAU Gold is 1 loss away from tying it up, going from 2-3 and a 3-1 team, and now they're just 1 game apart. So these teams that only have 4, 5, and 6 games recorded, as much as you might be looking pretty at 4-2, there's other teams who could be coming out stronger in their matches and also equalize at 4-2 and have a better tiebreaker score. So no one is safe at that point when you have upsets like this happening. Ontario Tech University Aqua attacked first on Border and lost 3-7 to New York Tech. OTU is definitely out of the run. Well, no, I won't say they're definitely out, because they still have 3 games left to play, and if they win all 3 of those and they go 5-3, that might be good enough. I imagine we'll see some 4-3 teams making it to playoffs, or 4-4 teams. Sorry, New York Tech, they improved to 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Sheridan is undefeated this season. They attacked first on Cafe against Norwich University, and they just crushed them 7-1. Sheridan, a team to watch in CRSL for sure. UTSA A Squad versus Arizona State Gold Squad played on Clubhouse. UTSA ended up taking that 7-3. Pretty decisive matchup. Not a whole lot of promise from Gold to be seen there. Akron Gold, they're 4-1 at this point, and it's Akron, so you might as well just assume that they're going to be number 2, number 1 going into playoffs. Anyways, they won 7-3 on Clubhouse on Coastline, 7-2 on Coastline against the Bulin Bearcats. Poor Bulin Bearcats. That was not a nice matchup for them, but you got to play what you got to play. University of Utah actually took it to Texas Tech 7-5 on Cafe. I'm two things. Utah is surprising me. They keep stringing together wins against teams, recognizable teams. So I'm like, okay, cool. Got a Utah team in here. But Texas Tech, where'd they go? What happened? Like, they were there. They were competitive. They were one of the teams where I was talking at the beginning of the season going, Texas is scary. You don't want to be in there. You don't want to deal with them. And now Texas A&M is floundering. Texas Tech is floundering. What the hell, guys? Can't you handle a little pandemic?
Texas has lost its spunk. What can I say?
Yeah. Damn. I feel betrayed, honestly. I was coming home to be like Lone Star State esports fan, but
don't worry, I'm kind of disappointed too. We're in the same boat.
Louisiana Red attacked Northern Arizona University Blue Squad on bank and rolled through them. Maybe a little difficulty, 7-4, but all in all, playing the picture pretty well. If I go off of the current standings of the CRSL website, Group 3 has FIU on top at 5-0, University of Akron at 4-1, Auburn at 3-1. Auburn being the team who has to play University of Akron in CR6 because of the random matchmaking, which is kind of funny. So Auburn may actually have an opportunity for revenge in this match, either way, depending on how either one goes, or they get an opportunity to get information on Akron to be like, hey, we'll just do 2 games back to back. How does that sound? We'll count it for our CRSL match, we'll count it for our CR6 match, and that second game they might be more educated on how Akron plays and be able to handle it a little bit better. It comes down to that adaptation skill. Bulin Bearcats are sitting in 4th at 3-2, but Wisconsin Red, another team that's kind of failed me. They look super competitive up front, and then they've just nosedived across the couple leagues now. They're 2-2, so they have 4 more games to make up. And it's totally doable when you look at the fact that Elon is 0-5, VCU Black is 0-4, and UTK Orange is 1-3. So I hope some of their matchups with Wisconsin Red are against some of those bottom teams, but actually it looks like they've gotten most of those matchups out of the way. That's unfortunate for them. Yeah, they have to play FIU, who's 5-0 at this point, which is not going to be helping them in any way. And then they have to play Auburn, who's just on top of them. They get to play UTK, who's just under them in the standings in their group. Group 4, 5-0, University of Illinois Chicago 5-1, University of Utah 4-1, Northern Arizona University Gold 4-2, Colorado Frost 3-3, ASU Maroon 2-3, Texas Tech 2-3, UCI White 1-4, UTSA B 0-4. So, I mean, you got Northern Arizona University, University of Utah, Colorado Frost, ASU Maroon, and Texas Tech all within 2 games of each other, and most of them have 2 or 3 games left to play. So those 5 teams out of an 8-team division have huge opportunities to make some moves in these last matchups. So that group 4 is totally like up for the taking. That second, third, and fourth spots are for anyone. Like, there's 6 teams in the running for that, which is crazy. I'm going to go back to a point that I said earlier about CR6 and figuring out how they can make better matchups. This is how you make better matchups. You have a division and a league, and you have standings within it.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to your old format, please. Sheridan in Group 1, yeah. 6-0. Sheridan is just rocking it. They've been a competitive team in CR6 the last 2 years. They found something that's clicked here for sure. I need to see where they're at in CR6. I imagine that they're probably one of the 3-1 teams at this point. So then second is Miami University 5-1, Wilfrid Laurier University 4-2, New York Tech 3-2, UNC Charlotte 2-3, OTU 2-3, Norwich University 1-5, Humber 0-7. So Humber and Norwich are definitely out. Yeah, 2, 3, and 4 are definitely in reach for even teams that are 2 and 3. So UC Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, and OTU both have an opportunity to hit that 4th seed. So it's really a competition between New York Tech, UNC Charlotte, and OTU Aqua in that group for that 4th spot. And last but not least, Group 2, Charger Blue leads the way at 5-2, which is so far our least dominant first place team across these 4 groups. So Texas A&M Maroon sitting in 2nd place with 4-2, not too shabby. But right behind them is Louisiana Lafayette at 4-3. So they've played one more game than A&M, and they lost it. So that's definitely some cushion, but you want to avoid that tie at all costs, right? UTSA A squad sitting at 3-2, again super tight, 1 game behind Texas A&M, 2 games behind Louisiana Lafayette. LSU 3-3, Longhorn Gaming 3-3. The AFK Experience at 1-4, ASU Gold at 1-5. Just chalk it, they're done. 6 and 7 are out. But between a 4-2 second place and a 3-3 6th place, yeah, that's another stacked competitive division. I think this was the one that we called the Group of Death. LSU, UTSA A squad, Louisiana Red, A&M, Charger Blue, and Longhorn Gaming. 6 of the, and even the Arizona State University's Gold squad. Like, they came in competitive, right? They felt like they had a chance, but I mean, don't mess with Texas, right? Or that side, the eastern side of the South, like University of Alabama, Huntsville, Charter Blue, they've been crushing it. They are, I wouldn't say that they're like on fire. Like Akron is on fire, Sheridan is on fire. Charter Blue is like this bull in a china shop. They don't care what you do to them. They're gonna fuck you up. That's what I get from their play. That's what I've been seeing. And it's probably the most convincing competitive team in this group. But knowing that we have these 6 really strong teams in there, 1 or 2 of these teams are going to find that fire again. I could see Longhorn Gaming, I could see UTSA A squad, or LSU really turning it on and just bumping anyone who's not hungry enough. That's CRSL, and I'm excited to be getting to these kinds of storylines. It's no longer about figuring out who these squads are or the reputation behind them. It's building out who's going to be the best, who's going to be the team that turns on the competitive spirit, the teams that want this. And for the ones that are in multiple leagues, man, this is that dig deep moment. This is where you prove that this is what you want. And the ones who are in multiple leagues, I feel like they want it the most. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in multiple leagues. They would do one and done and save the rest of their time, right? But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about Charger Blue, A&M, Longhorn Gaming. I'm excited to see Sheridan pull something out. Wilfrid Laurier, like, I don't know if they're anywhere else in any other leagues, but they're holding their own against some talented teams. So
yeah,
it'd be cool to see what comes from them. I just prattled for like 20 minutes. Hopefully that was hopefully I wasn't cutting you off.
No, you're fine. I think we're a little bit over time, but we're still fine.
Yeah. We got a lot to talk about. We make things to talk about. We learn interesting things.
I always feel like every single week I'm like, oh man, there's not much to talk about, and then every single time we ended up just turning it into a long spiel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to talk about for an hour. Like, there's only a few matches. There's like only a couple pieces of news. Next week, there's no Pro League to talk about except for maybe some news. And it's like, well, we can go for another hour and a quarter.
I know.
Well, why don't you share any final thoughts if you have them? Otherwise, we can cut out and give some people some of their time back.
I really don't have anything else much to say other than I really hope that Pro League starts to look up from here.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that Ubisoft does something about all of this no communication things. I really hope. I want to see this succeed. A lot of people are I think are kind of like sad that this is going to die, and I really don't want that to happen. I really enjoyed this game, and I really want them to succeed with this. So
yeah,
here's to hoping.
There's been a lot of recognition about how far the game itself has come, how the esports ecosystem has grown. They've taken great care of a number of the teams, and it seems like it's worked out well for a number of these groups. But yeah, when you have something so off script going on and just a breakdown of a process that you would want in any endeavor that you're going into, that's super scary. And it's a good way of stunting or even stalling for long term any sort of growth that you had going on. And right now, a lot of people who are just playing the game are unhappy. Lots of cheaters and hackers going on. There's lots of bugs that people are experiencing, and some of these changes people are really upset about. I mean, people on the forums and Reddit, they're always going to be upset. They are the vocal minority. Should not take those communities as sacrosanct as this is what the will of the people really want. But I don't know how many people really understand that or anything, but I'm telling you, those groups, those forum posters, the flamers, all of them, they are the loudest and smallest group of people in your community, whatever game you're playing. So take that with a huge grain of salt and don't let their vibe rattle you in your confidence or your passion about the games that you're playing, whether it's Rainbow Six or not. Yeah.
What he's saying is stay off of our Pro League.
That's what I'm saying. Well, we've had our time. We've had our fun. You can always listen to the podcast again or with better audio settings in case I am too quiet on my stream. And on anchor.fm/checkyour6/message if you want to leave a message, or you can leave that part off and just listen to the podcast like I was trying to say. Yeah, I mean, we're coming up on the end of our Rainbow Six podcast for the year. Colleges are wrapping up in the short order, and like in the next couple weeks. Pro League's wrapped up until there's news. So I just want to say I've appreciated having a co-host this time around. It's really been a lot of fun. I've had a lot more to discuss, a lot more to learn, a lot more to ask questions about. So I think the podcast has certainly grown up and leveled up a bit. So I just want to say thank you for joining me on this. I know it's not the most professional of experiences or even the most in-depth podcasts, but I mean, it's fun. I'm having fun making it. Yeah,
I've enjoyed being here, and I actually until you just pointed out, I didn't realize it's actually been officially a full season now that we've been doing this. So
exactly. So I mean, I look forward to doing this again as soon as we know more about what's going on and seeing how. I mean, we might have to throw in Challenger League coverage going forward, but I mean, I'm not sure if we want to do a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, and yeah. We'd have to split them up, doing Pro League and Challenger League, and
You know what? 2 hour
Completed.
stream and then 2 podcast episodes spaced out nicely. Maybe that's the thing. Send us your feedback. I said the link for your messages and everything. So share it, spill it, send us your feedback, good, bad, or ugly. We want to hear it, and so that we can make a better podcast for y'all and for ourselves, even in case we're doing something that we don't know what we're doing. So there you go. There you have it. Thanks for another episode, and we'll catch you next week. Later, everyone.